If you have a story you want to share, go to astheravendreams.com and click the button to send it my way. Also, if you haven't yet, please do consider subscribing to the channel, as that does help the channel grow. The more subs the channel gets, the more it gets pushed, the more people get to hear the stories, the more stories you get to hear, because the more listeners I have, the more listeners send in their experiences. Really, it's a cyclical benefit. Anyways, enjoy the stories. Hello, Raven. Longtime listener here. I adore your work and how respectful, kind, and genuine you are. Well, thank you. I'm going to try my best to remember everything accurately since I've not written these experiences down before. And for starters, I grew up in a country home about 10 minutes away from my hometown. My parents bought our country house before I was adopted into the family, and have already made a home out of it. My first paranormal experience was told to me by my older brother. When I was about 4 years old, he was babysitting me while my parents were out for the evening. We did what we did best and watched a movie together. During the middle of the movie, I turned and looked towards the dining table and asked, "Big brother, who is that lady sitting at the table? She looks like Cruella de Vil." He said that he felt the blood drain from his face and he froze. He didn't know how to answer me or even turn around to look for himself. As I got older, my family would tell me what they had experienced before I was born. My grandmother was in the yard helping with gardening one day, and happened to look into our living room window, and was shocked to see a little boy skipping in a circle. He wore a white t-shirt and had dark hair, and I did not have a little brother, and my siblings are 10 years older than me. Also, there was nobody home, which is why she was doing the gardening for my mother that day. My father was the one to experience more than one paranormal event than the rest of us. He was walking by his tool shed one day and happened to notice an older man sitting on the front steps. He walked toward the shed to see who it was, and the man disappeared into thin air. I was also told the story of an elderly cat we once had. This cat was the absolute worst. He would attack my siblings and nobody was able to pet or be around him. We would get coyotes around our yard that would unfortunately attack our pets, and one day this cat was attacked. My father chased the coyote away and walked up to the cat just before he passed. As my father got closer, he saw this cat's face morph into a human face and quickly change back before its last breath. I will admit, I have never felt alone in this house. Sometimes it was comforting and sometimes it gave an eerie ambience. One night, for example, I was in the tub and it was just me and my mother home. She was sitting in the computer room down the hall while I had my bath time. I played with my Barbies, and I heard whispering and then I froze. When I listened, it stopped. I continued to play and it would start again. I listened to the whispering and decided to call out to my mother. After I called out, the whispering stopped again. My mother came into the bathroom and asked what was wrong. I asked her if she was talking to me or even talking on the phone. She said no, and was confused about why I was asking. I didn't bother to tell her and just continued my bath. My parents were told that the country houses used to be cabins and were often rented out before realtors turned them into houses to sell to the townspeople. We did not know the land's history beforehand, and there weren't any disturbing occurrences found online either. Yes, I have tried looking into it. To this day, we don't know why we have seen these spirits, and I don't think we ever will. Hello, Raven. Before I start this story, I want to thank you for reading my last one, the first one that I submitted. It was a delight to hear your voice sharing my words. I feel so honored, thank you. Well, I feel honored that you allowed me to do so. I've just listened to your latest offering, and I thought I would share another story with you. In my world, death is a part of life, so I hope this story doesn't offend or upset anyone. So, recently my mother passed away. 25 years earlier, my father had what she called paved the way. They both agreed on cremation, and both had written what they wanted on a plaque on the memorial wall. The plaque backings are of uniform size, and the personal details and designs are engraved on a single plaque that's attached to the backing. My parents chose to share a plaque, so 2 smaller plaques on the same backing. First to go would share the first half of the saying they both loved: "Our love's journey knows no end." The other, when their time came, would complete it. "Together forever, 2 souls as one blend." That's actually rather profound and beautiful. My father's plaque needed to be removed so my mother's could be made to suit. Engraved, and then added to the backings. They were given a temporary and simple placeholder until the work was completed. It would, I was told, take at least 2 weeks. A week after the funeral, I woke with an overwhelming urge to go to the cemetery. It was a 45-minute drive each way, and I had 100 things to do that day, but this voice in my head just kept telling me to go to the cemetery. The more I ignored it, the more insistent it seemed to get. By 2 p.m., it was screaming in my head. I gave up, canceled what remained of my afternoon plans, and headed out. I parked the car and headed over to the memorial wall. I could hear myself preparing to look at the temporary plaque that offered a little more than basic notifications of my parents' names and death dates. I knew I would be asking an angry, "What do you want?" But when I got to the place where the plaque should be, I fell silent. There was no plaque. No temporary plaque, no permanent plaque with my parents' much planned and loved quote. Just an empty spot. I looked around. No plaque on the ground, and no staff to ask. So I headed to the office. The staff member checked the records and said that my mother's plaque had been completed yesterday. She smiled and added, "A full week faster than expected," and then said that the new double plaque had been installed this morning. I told her about the blank space. She tilted her head and said that I must have gone to the wrong wall or looked at the wrong spot. It's easy to do, and that the plaques had been changed over this morning. The voice in my head was saying, no, I wasn't mistaken. There was no plaque. She said that she would walk over with me and show me where I had gone wrong. When I showed her the space, she paused, took out her phone, and asked the workmen who install the plaques if they could return to the wall. When they arrived, one worker checked the work roster for the day. Yes, the temporary plaque had been removed, but they didn't have a new one to attach. The staff member checked a list on her phone. Yes, the new plaque had arrived, and been processed for placement. Suddenly I heard a voice that seemed to be coming from the worker's pickup truck. It seemed to be saying, "Here, it's so dark here." I shook my head, but the words repeated, louder, more urgent. "It's so dark here." I looked at the bed of the back of the truck, and there was a large toolbox attached to the bed behind the cab, and the bed wasn't flat. It had wide, raised channels. The workers said they had to get back to work. The staff member said that she would see what she could find out for me, but the voice was almost shouting in my head. "Here, it's so dark here." It was as clear as if the person saying this was shouting into my ear. I said that I just had this feeling that the plaque was somewhere on the truck. I asked if we could check. The workers looked in the boxes and bags on the tray, had a look inside the cab. I asked if we could move the toolbox, and both the workers said no, almost in unison. The toolbox was, they assured me, secured in place, and all the plaques were stored with care in a box. Why would I want the toolbox moved anyway? Even if the plaque fell out of the box, which wouldn't happen, it wouldn't accidentally slide under the toolbox. The worker who spoke stretched out the I and slide for emphasis, like slide. He said that I had offended him. He didn't like his work being questioned, but the voice was getting louder and more frantic. Here, it's so dark here. There was a box holding a few of the removed temporary plaques next to the toolbox. I leaned in, picked one up, placed it in one of the channels, and it was a perfect fit. I said that I didn't know why, but I had this overwhelming feeling that my parents' plaque was under the toolbox. There was an angry no from one of the workers. He added that he would not have his work questioned, that the plaques are sacred, and that they're all treated with care. But again, that voice was screaming, "Here, it is so dark here." A tear escaped my eye, and I begged, "Please, just humor me. I'll buy you lunch if I'm wrong." I explained that I didn't mean to offend, but my voice trailed off as I couldn't explain it. The voice was screaming in my ear, repeating over and over that it was so dark. I put my hands to my ears and said louder than I intended, "Please stop, I'm trying, I'm really trying, just stop." The workers and the staff member looked at me and then at each other. One of the workers said, "Well, food is expensive here." I said it would be worth it for them to prove me wrong, added that I would buy them lunch for just trying, and added another begging please. The voice in my head would not stop. One of the workers pulled a long, thin pole from a holder on the tray, opened the toolbox and took out some sort of sticky putty. He pushed it onto the end of the pole and pushed his new tool along one of the channels under the box. Nothing. But the pole came out, minus the putty. He shook his head. He added more putty, less this time, and pushed it along the second channel. Again, nothing, but the putty had stayed in place. The third channel was the same. I sighed. There was only one more channel. He pushed the pole in, and it stopped short. The workers looked at each other. He pulled the pole out, but nothing was stuck to the putty. He tried again, and again nothing. He said he was sorry, but he thought the bed might rise up in that spot, that there was nothing under there and they needed to get on with their work. The voice shouted again, "No, here, it's so dark, here." I asked if he could try again and I would pay for their drinks as well. He rolled his eyes and then passed the pole to me. I was too short to reach over the side of the truck, so I scrambled up onto the bed and lay face down on the dirt-covered surface. I carefully watched the pole as I slowly pushed it into the fourth channel. Again, it stopped short and I could hear something move. It wasn't the bed rising beneath the toolbox. Something was there. I pulled the pole out, molded the putty with my hands, and pushed it back in. Again, nothing came out, but there was a noise of something moving and a mark on the putty. A straight line. An indent from the edge of a plaque. The workers raised their eyebrows. One took the pole from me and with the care of a surgeon slid it back into the channel, pressed it down, and slowly pulled it back. It took him 3 tries, and we held our breath as finally a plaque began to appear. The voice in my head said, "Yes." I couldn't stop smiling. It was all I could do not to hug the workers, but they looked concerned. For the first time in over half an hour, the voice in my head fell silent. I watched as one of the workers carefully attached the plaque to the wall. I was given a cloth to wipe it down. As I read the quote, a tear fell from my left inner eye. "Our love's journey knows no end, together forever, 2 souls as one blend." I turned to thank the workers, but they were gone. I stayed for a few minutes, and then I heard a voice gently tell me that it was time for me to go. My job was almost done. Almost? What was left? I walked back to the office to organize the promised lunch for the workers and the staff member. The staff member said it wasn't necessary, and she gave me a serious look and said that, on behalf of the cemetery trust, she wanted to apologize for the distress the workers' mistake had caused. Suddenly, I was distressed all over again. I didn't want anyone getting into trouble. I wanted to commend the workers for their care and compassion. Mistakes happen. It had all worked out. I felt sick. Please, no. I don't want them reprimanded. I want to thank them. Some silly woman comes along with a crazy idea and they helped her out? They need to be thanked. She smiled and put a finger to her lips. I took it to mean that no one would ever know. I asked her where I would find the workers, called into the cafe, bought some food and drinks I thought they might like, and I delivered it to them along with my wholehearted thanks, and promised that I'd be more than happy to stand up for them if they were reprimanded. It would not, I assured them, happen on my watch, and I would indeed be watching. I made sure they had my details, and I made them promise to contact me if anything happened. They smiled and wished me well. As I walked back to the car, the voice whispered, "And now you're done." As I opened the door, I turned back to the wall and I heard that same voice. It was soft and kind, and I knew it wasn't speaking to me. It's a good view from here, isn't it? I realized it was the long-forgotten voice of my father. I looked down the hill from that wall, and it was indeed a very good view. Everything started in 1998 when my family moved into a new house. At first, nothing seemed unusual, but over time, that house, specifically the basement, changed my life in a way that I still don't fully understand. For the first few years, I shared a room with my brother, but around the 8th and 9th grade, he wanted his own space, so I was moved to the basement. And that is when everything changed. Before then, I was a straight-A student, excelling in AP classes like biology, CP, and calculus. But once I moved downstairs, my grades dropped to B's and C's. My personality shifted. I was no longer outgoing, and it felt like something was draining me. Even before moving in, the basement had a strange history. When we first toured the house in '98, we were told that someone was buried beneath the concrete in a small hidden nook in the wall. The room was originally used for storing firewood, and while spiderwebs covered the entire area, for some reason, that tiny nook, the exact place where the body was supposedly buried, never collected webs. On the other side of the basement, there was also a hole in the wall that led under the back porch. Another dark and unsettling space. Once I started living in the basement, I had recurring dreams almost every week. 3 in particular stood out. The first dream was about an alternate dimension. In this dream, I was at school, but no one would acknowledge me. I felt as if I didn't exist. I wandered into the restroom where, strangely, a bathtub full of water sat in the middle of the room. When I looked into the water, I saw another world, or an alternate dimension. The moment I touched the water, I was pulled into it, and suddenly I was loved and respected by everyone. I was wanted, but just as quickly, I was yanked back to reality where I was once again ignored. No matter how hard I tried, I could never return to that other world. The second dream was the shadow in the basement. This one was the worst. In the dream, I would wake up still in my basement. Everything was exactly as it was in real life, but something was different. A heavy, hateful presence filled the air, and I could feel something watching me. My eyes were drawn to the hole in the wall, and there I saw it. A featureless black figure with glowing red eyes. It had no expression, yet I knew it was smiling at me. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. The sheer malice radiating from it made me feel like it wanted me dead. Like it wanted my soul. I would always wake up still feeling its presence lingering in the room. The third dream was the farm and the plane attack, and in this dream, my mother and I were walking down a dirt road past a field, with a large red barn ahead of us, with our house behind us. The wind would blow gently, swaying the wheat, and then suddenly an old warplane, possibly from World War I, appeared in the sky. As it flew over the house, it started attacking us. My mother screamed at me to run to the barn. As I ran, I turned back and saw bullets hitting all around her. I made it inside just as everything went black, and then I would wake up. The strangest part is that that woman would look exactly like my real mother. As time passed, I felt more and more disconnected from who I used to be. I never made it to picture day after moving into that house. Not once. I also started experiencing frequent nosebleeds, sometimes so severe that they took 5 to 10 paper towels to stop the bleeding. And then there were the near-death experiences, 2 of them, while living in that house. Even while awake, I sensed that something there was watching me. At times, I would see dark figures moving in the corner of my eye, always near the hole in the wall. The unsettling feeling of being watched never left me. But here's the thing, the moment I moved out, everything stopped. No more nosebleeds or terrifying dreams, no more shadow figures, it just all ended. Or is it still hiding deep inside of me, still clinging and still feeding off my pain and suffering? I guess I'll never know in this life. And yet, I never really fully regained who I was before. My luck has been terrible ever since. While the experiences themselves disappeared, it feels like a part of me was lost in that house. As if something still lingers, just not in the way it once did. I've never tried any sort of cleansing or spiritual work to break whatever connection that house might still have to me, but after all these years, I wonder, did that basement take something from me that I will never get back? This would have been back in 2014 when I was going to college, and I had a roommate who worked at a local antique shop close to the university that I went to. During one of my long breaks between classes, I decided to visit my roommate at her job, the antique shop, and hang out for a little bit. The antique shop was really quaint and neat. The shop was housed inside of an old Victorian home that I believe was said to have been built in 1899 or so. I had been there quite a few times before, but this day when I had come to just chill before my next college class, I was only really there to talk to my friend. After a little bit, some customers came in and were needing help, so I decided to head upstairs in the attic part of the house/shop and peruse around while my friend helped the customers. I realized I had never been up there before. It wasn't dark or creepy, well lit with lots of window light and good electrical lights. There turned out to be some really cool things up there as well that caught my attention, and I began browsing like a regular shopper. After about 5 to 10 minutes, I started feeling like someone was just over my shoulder, constantly staring at me. I kept looking over my shoulder every 30 seconds or so, because I could feel a presence. I was the only person up there, and I knew it because it was a small space that you could clearly tell if someone else was up there too. Plus, I didn't hear any footsteps from potential other shoppers. I remember not feeling particularly scared, but rather unsettled and kind of annoyed. I felt like I was being watched way too close. Finally, after I could hear the customers my friend was helping had left, I eagerly went back downstairs to talk to her. I immediately asked her if the owners had security cameras installed upstairs, because I had this eerie feeling that I was being watched too closely. She laughed nervously, and then said, "Oh, you must have met Edna. She's a ghost that lives upstairs. This was her home before she died and the family sold it. Apparently she likes this house too much and doesn't want to leave it. The owner says that she's seen her and she's just an elderly woman and wears a black lacy Victorian dress. She's harmless, but she likes to set off the grandfather clock sometimes that hasn't worked in years, and sometimes she'll playfully spook people, especially those of us that work here. Her relatives even pop in sometimes to visit their Aunt Edna." My eyes were wide at this point. Her relatives come to visit her? It was the funniest, weirdest ghost encounter I'd ever heard of, and to be honest, it was my first paranormal experience that I can recall. And ever since this experience, it was like a portal opened up, and now I experience the strange things all the time. So, more stories to come. I just want to start out by saying that I do not drink, smoke, or take any sort of judgment-altering substances, and this is all real talk. A few summers ago, I was watching TikTok in my kitchen, and I came across the cursed game you should never play side of TikTok. I skimmed through the playlist out of boredom and curiosity, in hopes I would find something that would pique my interest. After enough scrolling, I came across a cursed game called Ashes to Ashes. Automatically, for some bizarre reason, I was hooked. The video stated that you need a wish, a room with no windows, candles, and of course your soul, if memory serves me correctly. Well, my friend Hannah and I got curious one late summer night, and I called her on my iPhone to see if she wanted to take part in the challenge virtually. Hannah willingly agreed, and I asked her what her wish was. I wrote down her wish on an index card and turned off all the lights in my townhouse. I then made my way up to my bathroom that has no windows, closed and locked the door. I also turned off the lights, of course. I turn on my lighter and I start to burn the index card on the metal tray that we got for safety. The energy shifted dramatically. Hannah and I felt overwhelmingly neutral energy that felt flat, for a lack of better words. Then, 2 brief seconds later, after I started getting ready to put the ashes in the empty bathtub, Hannah and I both heard a faint whisper, like ghostly yet terrified voice that said, "It's coming." I paused for a brief moment and took a breath. Then I started sprinkling the ashes for the index card in a clockwise rotation, in a circle around me as I repeated, "Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, ashes to ashes, dust to dust." As soon as I was done chanting quietly, Hannah heard some growling and chirping sporadically. I then took a deep breath and lit my white candle. Hannah and I called out to the demonic mystical entity who is called the Dust Bunny in this case. It's supposedly an evil entity who collects souls in exchange for one wish, or either plays a game with you and grants your wish, without taking your soul if you win. Hannah and I called out to this Dust Bunny. The smoke alarm automatically went off, and keep in mind the candle wasn't anywhere near close enough to the smoke alarm to set it off. I automatically jumped, and my heart skipped a beat. "Whoa, holy crap," I exclaimed. I then jumped up and turned on the light as quickly as I could, and tried to run the water in the tub to send the ashes down the drain. Hannah paused and then said sheepishly, "You weren't supposed to do that. That's against the rules." My thoughts in my head then began to spin rapidly like a tornado. After a brief moment of silence, I heard heavy creeping footsteps walking up my staircase. My jaw hit the floor and my heart started to pound relentlessly once I looked up and saw who it was. 2 feet away from where I was standing, in the dark, shadowed part into the nearest corner to where I was standing, I kid you not, I swear it was a 6-foot-tall demonic-looking bunny, who appeared to be missing an eye and had long, sharp teeth. He started to breathe heavily and then spoke. "Do you want to play?" I then stuttered and replied, "No thank you, I'm good." The dust bunny slowly nods his head and says, "Well, I can't do anything with such a kind soul as yours. I can't grant your wish because your soul is no good to me." I swallow and then reply okay. The dust bunny then cuts me off in an abrupt yet covert manner, and replies firmly and militantly as he directly looked into my eyes. "I'm gonna let you off easily this time and this time only. Whatever you do, young lady, do not ever play this game again, 'cause next time, you'll be history. Understood?" I then say, "Yes, sir, have a good night, and thanks for your kindness." He then vanished into thin air, and the energy in the house went back to normal as it typically was. I turned on all the lights in my townhouse, and it was almost 3 a.m. by the time Hannah and I wrapped up the game. I totally underestimated the power of the supernatural that night. So, this happened last summer, and I still can't wrap my head around it. I'm a night owl, always up late gaming or scrolling online, and my apartment's this old, creaky spot with too many mirrors. Left over from the last tenant, I guess. There's one in my bedroom, full length, leaning against the wall because I never bothered hanging it. It's got this chipped silver frame, and kinda grimy, but I never paid it much mind. One night, at like 2 a.m., I'm half asleep on my bed, phone in my hand, when I catch something out of the corner of my eye. The mirror. My reflection's there, sure, but it's off. I'm lying down, right? But the me in the mirror is sitting up, staring straight at me. Not moving, just locked on. Eyes wide like it's trying to bore holes into my skull. I blink, sit up quick, and it matches me. Back to normal. Just me, sweaty and freaked out. I chalk it up to exhaustion. Maybe a weird shadow, and then I crash out. Next night, same deal. I'm up late, room's dark except for my phone glow, and I glance at the mirror. This time, my reflection's standing. Not me. I'm still slumped in bed, but it's up. Right at the edge of the mirror, hands pressed against the glass from the inside. I freeze. Its mouth moves slow like it's saying something, but there's no sound. I grab my phone, shine the light, and it's gone. Just me again, looking dumb with the flashlight. I should have ditched the mirror, but I'm stubborn. The third night, I'm ready. Phone recording, aimed at it. Nothing happens for hours, and then around 3 a.m., the video catches it. My reflection steps out of the mirror. Not all the way, just one leg slow like it's testing the floor. My real self is dead asleep in the footage, snoring and oblivious. The thing looks at me, at the sleeping me, and then turns to the phone. Its face twists, not like it's mad, but it's just wrong. Too many teeth, eyes too big, like a mask slipping. It leans in close to the camera, and then it whispers something, and the video cuts out. When I watched it back, the audio was just static, but I swear I heard my own voice in there saying, "You're not supposed to see this." I tore that mirror down, smashed it in the dumpster out back. Shards were everywhere, but one piece, a big, jagged piece, kept showing up. On my kitchen counter, under my pillow, in my car. Always with a smudge that looked like a fingerprint, but not my fingerprint. I actually moved out last month. A new place, no mirrors, but then last week I was walking past a shop window downtown, and there it was. My reflection standing still while I kept moving, watching me go. I don't look at glass anymore because I don't trust what's looking back. So that, my friends, was a collection of some paranormal stories. Fun fact, this was my 80th collection of paranormal stories. That is a lot of chilling ghost stories and paranormal and hauntings and all that, such and so forth. Now, it's not a lot whenever you look at things like the fact that I have 238 Glitch in the Matrix videos already. But paranormal, I believe, is my second longest running, that and stalker slash scary creepy encounter stories. Paranormal is where I started, and paranormal is where I continue, so I don't know. It feels like this channel has always kind of been a strange and scary story channel, even from the start, but I kind of like, I don't know, I like the mix. I like the more, like, I don't want to say reality-based, but you know what I mean, like, corporeal reality-based, I guess. versus supernatural stories as well. I like all of them, but I like the mix. I think I do a good job. That's right. I'm patting myself on the back here, so. Hopefully, you all had a great weekend and a great week so far. Hopefully, you enjoyed the stories. If you did and want more like this, please do hit the like button, the thumbs up on the video. Also, subscribe if you're new to the channel and liked what you heard. That helps tremendously. You can also leave me a comment if you're feeling ever so bold and just want to see what's up. Just chat with me. It's been a busy week, and it's going to be a busy week. A lot of moving stuff going on. As you all know, not going to dwell on that. I talk about it enough, so. You can also send your stories into astheravendreams.com. That helps a lot. You can also listen to the podcast on other platforms, such as Spotify, Apple, Audible, or join memberships or Patreons, get early access to content like this and other things. Yeah. All that said, my friends, hope you're having a beautiful week, and hope I see you again here very soon. But until then, remember that you are loved, that you are valid, that you are important. You're the best you that you can be. Don't forget it. Much love, and sleep well.